Hello, students. Welcome to Distance Learning Lesson 8. This is the last lesson for Unit 11. It is IXL assignment U4, area of sectors. So the area of a sector, this right here is what we call a sector. It is, it's shaded in this particular diagram. It is like a slice of pizza. So think about it as it's the area of all of what's in here. So it's a smaller portion. So just like we did before with area, remember our area formula, area of a circle is equal to pi r squared. Well, the area of a sector is theta over 360 times, well, let's make that look a little bit nicer, theta degrees over 360 degrees times pi r squared. So it's the area of your sector. I'm sorry, it's the area of your circle, but it is also, I'm having trouble here. It's the area of your circle, but it's a portion of that area. Okay, so we have to, again, work with the degree measure, which here we have is 54. So we have 54 degrees and our radius. So we have our degree measure and our radius. So I tend to abbreviate this as SA for sector area. So sector area equals theta over 360, so 54 over 360 times pi r squared. And r is 1 inch squared. So we can do that math. Whoops. Ay, 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 ay. This iPad is not working today the way I want it to. 1 inch squared. There we go. So I'm going to do all the math. So sector area equals 1 times 1 is 1. Well, let's write as 54 over 360 times pi times 1 inch squared. 1 times 1 is 1. Inch times inch is inch squared. So now it's going to end up becoming 54 pi inches squared over 360. You know what? Why don't I leave inches squared off to the side? And we want it in simplest form, so we need to simplify it. We're going to divide 54. Let's divide 54 by I don't know, what do they both have in common? Let's say 6. I think they have 6. Yep. So 54 divided by 6 is 9, and 360 divided by 6 is 60. We can divide it a little bit further. Okay. Here, let me move this all up. The iPad does not like when there are pictures on it. This software doesn't like it, at least. Okay. So 9 over, it looks like I can divide both of these by 3. So sector area equals 3 pi inches squared over 20. And that is it. So the sector area is going to be 3 pi over 20. So 3 pi over 20 square inches. Again, you want to make sure it's in simplest form. You can always check your work. You can do 54 divided by 360, and then 54 divided by 360, and then you can also do 3 divided by 20, and you get 0.15 for both of them. But again, you want it in fraction. Okay. The next one, same thing, except you have a diameter. So you want to make sure that you change this diameter to a radius. This is going to be 8 kilometers and 8 kilometers. Because really this is 8 kilometers, so this whole thing is 16. But I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so sector area is going to be equal to theta over 360 times pi r squared. So sector area is going to be equal to 45 over 360 times pi 8 kilometers squared. So sector area is going to be equal to, now again, you can simplify 45 over 360. They are both divisible by 45. It's really 1/8. Or we can multiply 8 times 8 and then multiply it by 45 afterwards. Let's try to, let's write it first as 45 over 360 times pi times 60, 8 times 8 is 64 kilometers times kilometers is kilometers squared. So let's simplify it first. Again, you don't have to, but I'll call it 1/8 times pi, because 45 divided by 45 is 1, and 360 divided by 45 is 8. So times 64 kilometers squared. So now I have sector area equals 64 pi kilometers squared over 8, and 64 divided by 8 is 8. So let me just review. We could have done 64 times 64 times 45 divided by 360. 8 times 8, which is 64, times 45. So 64 times 45, and then divided that by 360, and we would have gotten 8 regardless. But I decided to simplify it first. Okay, so sector area equals 8 pi kilometers squared. So 8 pi kilometers squared. All right, now we're going to work backwards on these next two. So we are given a radius here, so we need to work backwards from sector area. It's going to look very similar to what we did before. So sector area equals theta over 360 times 2 pi r, pi r squared. And it looks like that they gave us an area of 5 pi and a radius of 10 kilometers. Okay, so I'm going to put those numbers in. So it's going to be 5 pi, area of 5 pi squared kilometers. That's equal to, you know what, I'm going to leave the units out of it because I know what the units are going to be. So 5 pi equals, and it's going to be my angle over 360 times pi times 10 kilometers squared. So I get 5 pi equals theta over 360 times pi times 100 And so now I have 5 pi equals 100, 5 pi equals 100 pi theta over 360. All right, you know what? Let me write it as a whole fraction. I'm trying to make it look as nice as possible here. Okay, step one, well, next step, multiply both sides by 360. So 360 times 5 is 1800. So it's going to be 1800 pi equals 100 pi theta. And now the next step is going to be to divide both sides by 100 pi. So that goes away, that goes away, that goes away. And now 1800 divided by 100 is 18. So theta is equal to 18 degrees. So that's what it would have been. That's what it had to have been if we had a sector area of 5 pi square kilometers with a radius of 10. That degree measure in the middle would have had to have been 18. And that's what we found, which is 18 is right there, 18 degrees. Okay. Next one, the diameter of a circle is 16 kilometers. What is the angle measure of an arc bounding a sector with an area of 8 pi square kilometers? So, okay, so this one has a diameter of 16, and then what I use blue, so an area of 8 pi square kilometers. Now, the important thing here is that we can't use the diameter. We have to use a radius. So let's knock this one apart. Let's make it 8 kilometers because of 2 radiuses and a diameter. So each one is 8 kilometers. Now when I get that, again, this is the 8 kilometers part because each radius, but all my radiuses are 8. So I really don't need to write it there. Okay, so I'm going to fill in the missing information. So I have 8 pi on this side, and I have theta over 360 times pi r squared, which is 8 kilometers squared. So 8 pi equals theta over 360 times pi times 64. You know what? Again, I can leave the kilometers out of it. I'm sorry, I keep putting in the units. We really should be using the units, but I'm going to try to keep it simple in terms of how much writing is here. So now I have 8 pi equals 64 pi theta over 360. And now on both sides, we are going to multiply by 360 because we are trying to get theta by itself. So this is the first shot at doing that. So 2,880 pi equals 64 pi times theta. And the last step, I think I did in purple. No, I did it in green. Is to divide both sides by 64 pi. So pi's go away, 64 goes away. On this side, I have just theta. And on the other side, I have 2880 divided by 64, which is 45 degrees. What a nice number. 45 degrees. It's the same process over and over. You just had to make sure that you took away, that you broke the diameter up into 2 radiuses or 2 radii. Okay, let's see. We only have 1 slide left. Well, 1 page left, 2 items. Okay. These are word problems, but they are the same thing. So we're going to do sector area. We have in green I'm going to make the radius in green. For this one, the radius is 1 meter. For this one, the diameter is 6 feet. So we're going to have to say that the radius is actually, for this one, the radius is actually 3 feet. Okay, now this one has a sector area bounded by a 50-degree measure, and this one's by a 132-degree measure. So this is not a working backwards problem. This is a working forwards problem, both of them actually. So this will save us a little bit of time. So sector area equals theta over 360 times pi r squared. So sector area equals 50 over 360 times pi times 1 meter squared. So sector area equals 50 over 360 times pi times 1 is 1, meters times meters is meters squared. So it's now out of the parentheses. So sector area equals 50 pi meters squared, because 50 times pi times 1 is 50 pi. Meter squared stays, and we get over 360. Now they are both divisible by 10. 50 is divisible by 10, and so too is 360. So we get 5 pi over 36 meters squared. And we are done. It's not divisible by anything else. So 50 divided by 10 is 5. 360 divided by 10 is 36. So 5 pi over 36 meters. And we have to leave it square meters, in simplest form, which is a fraction, and exact, which is with a pi symbol. Okay. The last one, everything's pretty much the same, but we're going to do sector area equals theta over 360 times pi r squared. So sector area equals 132 over 360 times pi times 6 feet squared. All right, so sector area equals 132 over 360 times pi times 36 feet squared, because 6 times 6 is 36, and feet times feet is feet squared. Now we could simplify, or we can multiply across. What I'm seeing right here is that 36 and 360 both have a factor of 36. Okay, that would make it 1/10, and then it looks like 132 can be divided by 2 as well. You know what? Let's just multiply it right across. Let's not simplify it. Let's just do 132 times 36. And we get 4,752 pi over 360 feet squared. Let's divide both of these by, let's do 36. So I'm just going to put divide by 36. And I mean numerator and denominator. Okay, I'm not going to write that down. I'm just going to write 4,752 divided by 36 is 132, which gets us back to what we had. Pi over 10. And we can actually divide it again by 2. So I get 132 divided by 2 is 66 pi over 5. Okay, that is one method. You know what? I'm going to show you another method. Let's do method 2. So method 2, I have sector area was 132 over 360 times pi times 36 feet squared. So what I would have done was, this probably would have been the easiest. I would have done, let me just copy everything here. Whoops, because I want to show you the math involved. Okay, whoops, that did not at all pick what I wanted it to. Okay, so I would have done simplify. So I would have done get rid of 36, and that would have been 10. So I would have had sector area equals 132 pi feet squared divided by 10. And then sector area would have been 66 pi over 5, because I would have divided each one by 2, numerator and denominator. That doesn't look like feet. One last time. Okay. Alrighty. So the answer is 66 pi over 5 square feet. All right. And that's it for our notes for this unit. It looks like, yep, lesson 7. Whoops, I went too far. Lesson 8, which is U4, area of sectors. So you have to do this work on IXL. You will have a test next week on all 8 lessons combined. So you need to know pretty much all of your area and perimeter formulas, perimeter of a circle, circumference. Don't forget sector area and length, arc length are pieces that branch off of area and circumference that we can do as well. Working forwards, working backwards, and all of that. All right, good luck.